Noise has actually lost his mind. Lost his mind. Hey to Jet Noise. Hey to Jet Noise. Thank you for joining me on the program. You can catch me Rumble, Ada Jet Noise, ADA Jet Noise, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Parler, which is coming back up. Looks like they're going to be back in the app stores, so I will be back on Parler. That should be fun. I miss you, Parler. I do. And on top of that, still trying to work out. I'm not interested in doing the entire programs, putting those on Instagram in any way. I'm more interested in doing highlights, and that's something where I have to coordinate a little bit better in order to get that done. Thank you again for joining me in the conversation where I don't have to be right. I just have to start the conversation. Together we can come up with the solution, or at least get on the path of truth, which is seems to be a path that LeBron just doesn't seem to be interested in. Yesterday, the dunce that has become LeBron James, he tweeted out, and I'm really not interested in posting the tweet itself, but he tweeted out a photo of the officer that had to shoot Khia Bryant. And I say had to shoot because if he didn't shoot Khia Bryant, an innocent person was going to die in that case. And far be it from me to pretend like Khia Bryant was going to be innocent in that situation. So LeBron thought he was the right thing to do by posting, and all this is happening like just minutes before the Chauvin trial, the shooting in the madness that was going on, the fight that brought Khia to the boiling point. And it's my understanding there's rumors that she already had like psychological or emotional issues. I'm not going to go there because I don't know anything, and I'm getting there has been unreliable words coming from Columbus right now. Because when I first saw the report, it was just like minutes before the Chauvin trial, the Chauvin verdict, excuse me. And there was a point in the report that said that the knife that the officer, they came there, the police were called, and the knife was on the ground. They heard of a stabbing. That's what it was. That the officers were told there was a stabbing, and that when the officers got there, the knife was on the ground in front of Khia, so they just decided to shoot the person. This is pretty much what's in the report. The knife was on the ground, so they shot Khia. So it's almost as if the knife is on the ground. This is what they're selling you. The knife was on the ground, and they shot whoever was going to be standing closest to the knife. That was the report. Knife on the ground, so they by Khia or whatever, and so they shot her. And then when you watch the video, the actual video of what actually happened, there was no knife on the ground. That knife was very much in use, and the purpose as to what got Khia killed. But LeBron, to get back a little further into details on that, LeBron decided that he was going to post a picture of the officer. Again, I'm not going to post that picture. I don't. It's, and I even found the picture with a blurred out face. I'm not going to post it. But when he posted the picture, and he simply wrote in capital letters, "You're next!" Exclamation point. Hashtag accountability. Go to hell, LeBron. Seriously, yeah, go to hell. I can guarantee that LeBron had no idea, or nor does he care, exactly what went on in that situation. Nor did he take into account what exactly happened during that shooting. And here's the proof in the pudding. Let me pull this up for you. LeBron had decided that he was going to eventually, that he was going to take that tweet down, the picture of the officer. And he wanted to explain why he took the tweet down. And this is how he explained him taking down that tweet. "I'm so damn tired of seeing black people people killed by police. I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system, and they always use our words to create more racism. I am so desperate for more accountability." You can't be. I'm not. I don't want a name call. You cannot blame other people for running with your stupidity. Our words to create more racism? Man, you went out of your way at that moment. Call it being passionate. Call it being, I don't know, really, just in your words, desperate. Passionate. That reminds me of just a few days ago. What's the young lady's name? The singer, Demi Lovato, where she got triggered, and she did a similar thing where she had to apologize. She had to go on Instagram or something to apologize. She got triggered. She walked into I hate this word, frozen yogurt place. Please don't make me say froyo. In fact, I don't want to say it anymore. But she walked into a frozen yogurt place, and they had words like diet, sugar-free, I don't know, low sodium, things like that. They had things like that on some of their items. And she got triggered by that. She got so triggered that she stormed out, and then she immediately got on Twitter and started, trying to say that, they need to be more sensitive to people with eating disorders and so on and so forth. That they're being, they're not taking into account the people with eating disorders, because she's suffered an eating disorder, blah, blah, blah. She's always struggled with her weight. And so she got on there and she goes on this awful rant the frozen yogurt store has to come back and say, look, we have to, we have, what is this? The people with celiac. It's celiac, right? It's the people that can't do the gluten, celiac issues, diabetes, low sodium people. So they're simply trying to let those people know that those particular things are what they need so they can enjoy some frozen yogurt. And what Demi Lovato does is her single issue is that her sole issue, or I should say, the issue that she has, her personal issue. That's what I'm going for. Why am I trying to do this? Her personal issue is far bigger than a lifetime, as far as we know, a lifetime of the phrases sugar-free, diet, gluten-free. Those things, those phrases, those words trigger her. So now everyone has to stop using that. I'm not allowed to say Diet Coke around someone that has an eating disorder because those things might get you angry. That is bizarre. Again, I'm so tired of seeing black people get killed by police. I took the tweet down because it's being used. But this is what the passionate thing, this is where the passionate thing has to find a path. You need to learn how to take the passion thing and run it through a filter, and then maybe you can express yourself. Because in the Demi Lovato situation that I just explained, she just looks a little, and she admitted herself, she looked a little silly. She looked, she was triggered. It's something goofy that happened, and it's going to go away in her situation. In this case, what LeBron did with the officer, LeBron posted that picture, and he took it down, but he knows more than anyone that that picture's never going to go away. There's screenshots available. People will do web search and they'll find the same photo or similar photos of the same officer. They're going to start checking social media accounts and stuff like that. There's people sitting around waiting to do those particular things. Some for good reasons, some for bad reasons, but the ones we're going to know about, of course, are going to be for the bad reasons. But the madness all stems from Khia and whatever was going on that day. And this is how we know that LeBron did not take into account what exactly happened. Because if LeBron had decided to maybe study the situation he would see that that officer, that white officer, actually saved a black life. He saved a black life. In the images, just before this image happened that you're looking at now, there was the officers got there and it was a just madhouse, another freaking monkey show. They walk in and another group of people just scrambling around, punching and kicking and screaming. Just, it is far, this happens far too often. It's a scene that does not need to exist and certainly does. And it's, technically it's explainable. Unfortunately, it is real. But damn it, it needs to stop. The officers, a handful, saw at least 3 officers on the scene, including the one whose body cam footage, the one that pulled the trigger. His body cam footage is what you're actually, the images you're seeing now are come from his body cam. So when they get there, on his body cam, you can see a young woman being thrown to the ground, and it just that's just in front of this car, probably about 10-12 feet in front of this car that you're seeing in this image. He's facing, looking up a driveway, and the young lady in pink is actually standing close to the body cam, which means, of course, she's standing close to the officer, just in front of where he's off to the side a little bit. You can see her pink outfit on his body cam, and there's probably 3 or 4 people, again, probably roughly 12-15 feet up the driveway, just in front of that car that you see there. One of them is a grown man. I'm not playing the video. I'm tired of looking at it. And what happens is Khia seems to be one of those people. And if you look carefully, you will see the knife flash a few different times in the situation. If you look carefully, watch carefully, do some freeze frames, and there's probably some images, people doing their own freeze framing. You will see the knife flashed a few times. It seems to me that Khia had already decided that she was going to use the knife on the young woman, not the one in the pink yet, on the young woman that is dealing with the grown man. That young woman that was dealing with the grown man looks like she's pushed to the ground, which my assumption is that the man pushed her to the ground, because later he's coming after her. Now this is a grown man fighting with what looks, Makai's 16 years old. The girl in the pink looks about that young, and the young woman that was thrown to the ground looks about that young as well. So they're in the 15 to 16-year-old range. That man comes running after the young woman that was thrown to the ground. It's like she lands on a tree lawn. And he starts to proceeds to try to kick the young woman. Grown man trying to kick a young woman. That guy kind of becomes important in the story, and you'll see as it goes on. The grown man trying to kick little girls. So he's trying to kick this little girl, and the debacle starts to spread out a little bit. including the girl in the pink now, which is what you're starting to see in the image. As the guy is trying to kick the other young woman, Khia decides that she's going to go after the young woman in pink, who's holding like a puppy, who's pretty much stayed out of it. We don't know how this all started, but when you got there, the girl in the pink could have not been doing much more than maybe name calling, because she's holding a puppy standing next to the police officer. At this point now, Khia has decided that she's going to go after the girl in the pink, so she's shoving her towards the car, pins her back towards the car, and now you're seeing what you see what you see in the image. Khia is not only interested in harming the girl in the pink. She rears back as if she's going to throw a roundhouse punch, but indeed she has the knife in her hand. You can see that. This is not a normal, like, I'm going to stab you kind of thing. This is, I'm going to kill you with this knife kind of thing. She is set. Her foot position is set to roundhouse. Her arms are set to roundhouse. She's leaning forward with a knife reared back. Her intention is to kill. Her intention is to murder. There is no other explanation. Would a taser stop someone at this level? We've seen tasers do a lot less for people that weren't at this level of anger. There is no call for the use of a taser in this situation. None. In any situation, you are about to see someone that is, you have to set the scenario. You're about to see an innocent person, whether they're innocent or not. That is not the situation that you are faced with. You are about to see someone that is defenseless, that has not caused any issue, be the victim of someone with a weapon. A knife has killed many people. And have killed many people. Because not everyone has a gun, but everyone has a knife. In their kitchen, in their pocket, in their toolbox, wherever, you can come across a knife. So knives have killed many people. In this case, this knife was it was only present because it was meant that someone was going to be killed by the holder, and that holder happened to be Khia Bryant. You see in the image that there was nothing that the girl in the pink was ready for, was able to do to defend herself. Indeed, she was going to be killed. That is why the officer pulled his gun and shot Khia Bryant. LeBron did not take into account that a black life was saved. I've only heard one account from the from the girl in the pink. And surprise, surprise, she's happy that the officer did what he did. She said she was going to stab me, and that's why he did what he did. She's alive because of that. Now, looking at Khia, you might have been able to offer her, hey, we can go to McDonald's, and she might have turned around. Her whole attitude would have changed. Got some candy in my pocket. You see my that might have done a better job than a taser would have. But in the time that the officer had, the gun was the only solution. It's sad. It's more sad that her family is that some of her family have lied. Some of her family have said, hey, she had issues before, so some of these people are taking it seriously. You know, I saw her mother talking about, I think she was in a foster home. So I don't know if it was her real mother or not, but the woman that they said that it was Khia's mother, you know, she was saying she's an honor student. So how is it that somehow, now this happens in these this happens all the time, that their past, that the people that are shot by the police officers in these situations, somehow their past doesn't matter unless their past paints them out to be some sort of angel. She shouldn't have been shot because she was an honor student. She was funny. She was sweet. She believed in peace. But meanwhile, they're saying that she had psychological issues. She's gone over the edge before. She's dealt with violence. She's been violent before. That doesn't matter. Somehow that doesn't matter. But anything that paints him out to be an angel, that's what matters. It was like the George Floyd thing, where the video where he was telling young guys, hey man, you're out here killing each other and blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't be doing that. But meanwhile, that's what they wanted to paint George Floyd as. With the girlfriend who was like, oh, his heart was gold. Doesn't mean George Floyd was necessarily a bad guy. He was a bad guy. Because, anyone that would break into someone's home and then hold, a pregnant woman at gunpoint while his buddies are robbing the place, and then using extensive drugs and just being arrested, just doing illegal activity after illegal activity. When you're with your girlfriend, that's different. You might actually have feelings and appreciate that time. That could be the George Floyd that his girlfriend knew. But she knew he had issues. He ran from Houston because he had issues. Incarcerated and wasn't able to stay out of trouble. So he ran from Houston to Minnesota. And in Minnesota, he met his inevitable end. That was the George Floyd thing. They did it with Tamir Rice. Oh, he's just the boy. He was playing with the gun. His mother gets out and says, I don't know. He didn't get that gun from me. I don't know where he got that from. Well, he stole it. Stole it from someplace. Wasn't even a real gun. But he's got out there trying to play gangster by himself in a public place. and a bad decision was made off of his ignorance. Tamir Rice. The darling picture of Trayvon Martin that everybody saw in the hoodie. Oh, because he was wearing a hoodie, blah, blah, blah. And then they show you this picture when he's like 11 or 12 years old, where he's just this cute kid wearing a hoodie. When Trayvon Martin was killed, he was just gangly, just face pock infested, drug worn out, just awful, just visually, aesthetically, just wasn't a very good looking kid because of what he was putting himself through. Both of those things are his past. But when the media sells us these things about innocent black people getting killed, gunned down by white police officers, only these darling pictures of them as small children smiling, or them being an honor student. Michael Brown, remember Michael Brown, his family, his mother said, he's going to be the first. He was going to be the first one to go to college. Michael Brown had nothing to do with college. There was nothing about Michael Brown that said he was going to go to college. Nothing. And somehow, only the past, their past, that is going to paint them as an angel is the only past we need to worry about. And in this case, Khia had a past history of some issues, some over-the-top issues, and she snapped. This time she snapped, and she snapped in front of a police officer. And she was going to kill someone that was defenseless. And dare I say, innocent. There's nothing else to make me say otherwise about the girl in the pink. So a black life was saved by a white police officer. And that list, that's not a new list. That's not the first on a new list. It wasn't just a few weeks ago where the two officers were reporting to a break-in of an ex-husband or boyfriend or whatever. And they went into the house with the woman and said, hey, you may got to change the locks. And James, I'm sure he's going to come back, and so on and so forth. And they're trying to work out something with her, and they're calmly talking in the woman's living room. And as they're calmly talking to the woman's living room, the ex does come back. You can see it on the body cams, on both the officers' body cams, the situation where the ex does come back, gun in hand, opens the screen door and just starts firing at the officers. It wasn't about an argument. There wasn't any explanation. It wasn't a, hey, come here. It was just open the screen door, bang, bang, bang. The officers had to return fire, blood everywhere. The woman, the only thing that saved the woman is that he was focused on the officers, that the killer, that the ex was focused on the officers, knowing that if he takes out the officers, he could probably just finish her off when he wanted to. So he had to take care of the officers. So since they were he was focused on them, she could escape any true injury. So the officers were hit. They survived. They gunned him down. I'm sure that guy was a nice guy with his friends and could be at times loving with his partner. And that went by the wayside. They split up. She's living her life. He doesn't like it. He wants her dead. So what I'm saying is that this officer in Columbus is not the same thing as the Derrick Chauvin situation. But immediately, people like LeBron James and Black Lives Matter chapters and stuff like that immediately jumped on it to make it the Derrick Chauvin situation, because now, and the media, I'm getting tired of calling it the mainstream media, and it's Legacy's not making we're just gonna have to find a new way to put this, but the media that has turned it into the next big thing, because fear, blood, and dead black people that are killed by white police officers bring big ratings. That is what we have here. And for politicians, it brings a grand tool of manipulation. Because then Maxine Waters has to come back out and tell her lies that are obvious. And you can't call her out on that. She doesn't care. Maxine Waters is an awful person. She can tell the lies that she wants at any point. Then she kind of softly takes it back when she's called out on it on the news. Sort of softly takes it back. She hasn't quite learned. She hasn't got to that point yet to where she's like, look, I said what I said. She hasn't quite got to that. She still plays the game. You know, like she said when she incited the violence, and the judge in the Chauvin trial said, look, her words don't really mean anything, blah, blah. And when in fact they do, he did say that they need to stay out of it because politicians can mess this up. She set up an appeal, which makes me think that she did it on purpose. They want the destruction in the street. Somebody wants, like Maxine Waters wants the destruction in the street. So she set up the appeal when she went public, saying that, you know, they need to be more confrontational, that he needs to murder one. For her, it's murder one. And they need to be guilty. He needs to be called guilty. So that is enough to set up an appeal when a public official, a freaking lawmaker, comes out against you and says that you need to be found guilty. It wasn't an unfair trial. It was never a fair trial. And she solidified that. She wasn't the only one that solidified that. Biden calling the family Oh, I waited till they were sequestered. You can't call the family like that on the day of a trial, on the day of a verdict. You can't do that. That is indeed showing bias. Again, it doesn't matter where you land or how you see it, that gives him grounds for an appeal. It was never a fair trial. Last week, one of the biggest jokes was, where's Kamala? We haven't seen Kamala in like 2 or 3 weeks. Where's Kamala? Where's Kamala? Wasn't she handed the border? This is the border crisis. She was going to take care of the border crisis. Ha 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 ha. That's what everybody, that was kind of the joke in conservative media and conservative circles. She comes out after the Chauvin trial. We finally see her. That's not funny. She's missing for like a month. And then she goes to the podium after the Chauvin trial to be connected to the verdict. Where was conservative media then? Where was the conservative circles then? How can they just let her slide on this? She's gone. She's missing in action for almost a month. You tee-hee and ha-ha about her not doing anything. Then when she shows her face, it's to connect herself to the Derrick Chauvin verdict. That is that is disgusting. Conservative media, you missed out on that. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big thing. But we have to start deciding, are we going to stick with the truth? Are we going to stick with what is actually happening? Because this whole Bryant thing is just another distraction. Indeed, is another distraction. They're going to muck this up the same way they did with the George Floyd thing. They're going to muck this up with the like they did the Eric Garner thing. They're going to muck all this up. With the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, they muck this up to keep you distracted. They keep you angry. They keep you at odds. Meanwhile, they're doing things like today, they're voting on D.C. becoming a state. Why does D.C. need to become a state? Well, it's because if they become a state, it's going to be a liberal state, and they're going to get that electoral college numbers in that direction. It's the same thing that they want to do with Puerto Rico. It's more than likely going to be a liberal state because it is, if they make it a state. It's very liberal. It's very give me, give me, give me. Dependent on government. Those type of things are happening. The border is on fire crisis. It is hell on the border right now. But we don't have to talk about that now because they give us these twisted stories about some sort of wild racism running rampant among police. And before I go any further, there are bad cops. there are bad cops. There are far too many good cops. And I'm only saying that from their perspective because I'm thinking the good cops should either quit or just get up and go to a place that's not going to give the. If you're a good cop in Oakland, Baltimore, Cleveland, right now I'm in specifically Minnesota. If you're a good cop, you shouldn't have to put up with all this. Just get up, pack up your things, move into a town that is more red, more conservative, more. If it looks like a nice place, just get in there and just be a cop there. Because apparently these other places do not want you. They're proving it over and over again that they do not want you there. So go someplace to where you can be appreciated and you don't have to put up with all this nonsense. The only problem with that is federal police will start coming into these places. But hell, if they can isolate those federal police into some of those places like Baltimore, Minnesota, Oakland, Cleveland. I don't want federal police here in Cleveland. I don't think we've necessarily reached that. I don't think we've necessarily reached that. There's sometimes there's night and day situations in Cleveland. But I understand. If you're a good cop and you want to make a difference. But they've already proven to you that they don't want you there. That's neither here nor there. Well, it's far more important than I just made it out to be. I'm sorry. I just feel for the cops at this point. But kind of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But the debacles happening. The debacle that's happening behind the scenes as we're being distracted by race, things like race and COVID. Those we have to be smarter than this. And I go back to LeBron James. He believes he's so incredibly smart that he stays on this subject that is obvious is a distraction. I don't give a damn what he thinks is happening in the black community. When you look at the numbers, the FBI numbers, white people will always get shot more by the police than black people. I don't have to prove that. The FBI proves it year in and year out. The statistics prove it year in and year out. If you're not into statistics, there's nothing I can do about it. You're living off your emotions. That's fine. But your emotions are crap when it comes to reality. I don't know what to tell you. But don't bring your argument don't bring your emotions with your argument. Pardon me. Don't bring your emotions with your argument. It's unnecessary, and it's exactly why we're in the situation that we're in right now. Is that everybody's thinking with their feelings and their feelings are just not getting things done. It's getting a lot of bad things done, but there's no fix, there's no cure, there's no solutions. No, you can't do that because everybody's happy being wrapped up in their feelings. And the Khia situation was, we don't have Chauvin anymore. We don't have George Floyd anymore. George Floyd will just into the ether sooner than you think. Completely unimportant. They'll give you, next year they'll be like, oh, this is the anniversary, the 1 year anniversary of the Chauvin verdict. This is the 2nd year anniversary of George Floyd, and they had a candlelight vigil. No one cares. Seriously, no one cares. No one. They got everything. They got every bit of juice out of George Floyd. That fruit is dry. Into the garbage it goes. So the Khia Bryant thing is the new one. And this one will go away fast too if they can get one that they can muck up a little bit for a little bit more. Right? They'll keep Khia in the background, kind of like they did was a young lady that wanted to be EMS. Anyway, the Khia is there's far too much evidence that is not a good selling point like the George Floyd thing was, right? You saw the ego in Chauvin's face. You saw the knee on the back. You saw the people screaming, he's dying, he can't breathe. There was a lot there that you can muck up and sell to the public. Sell the fear, if you will, in the racism. You could sell all those things easily when it came to George Floyd. If you have a degree of reality in you, you will see that the Khia Bryant shooting is pretty much justified. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. And if somehow the mob, like they did, manipulates like they did in the media, manipulate like they did the Chauvin situation, well, that would be the final straw. That would be to let you know, to let us all know that the police have been pretty much, they kept using the word defund the police. If this officer suffers any sort of consequence for doing his job properly, that would be the end of the police. A lot of police would get out. A lot of police will step away. I don't think he will. There's still traces of America in America. And this cop didn't do anything wrong. In fact, if you actually believe in the concept, in the phrase Black Lives Matter, if you actually believe that, you will see that he saved a black life. And some people right now would scream at the screen and say, well, he didn't have to uh, take a black life to save a black life. Yeah, he did. He didn't take a black life. He took a murderer, an attempted murderer. He took the life of He took the life of an attempted murderer. He saved what seemingly is a innocent life. So there's that. Then there's the Adam Toledo thing, which maybe I'll get into a little bit later. But Adam Toledo, what's the call, man? I saw a gun. The police were called to by someone, in the neighborhood. They'd heard gunshots. They heard up to 8 gunshots. There's video of of the guy shooting about 8 rounds. There's video. And when the police show up, they're looking for somebody with a gun. Now, Adam was hanging around with some 20, 21-year-old dude. Why are you, Adam is 13 years old. Why are you 20 years old hanging around 13 years old? Either you're a perv or, well, you're definitely a loser. You're definitely that. You're walking around at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning with a 13-year-old boy. And they were definitely up to no good because the guy held off. As the car is going by, he hauls off and fires off 8 rounds. The police show up because somebody heard gunshots. They're looking for somebody with a gun. Adam wasn't the one that hauled off, but he had a gun. Indeed, he had a gun. The police show up. Adam takes off running. They're running down a dark alley. Adam stops, reaches behind himself, and then even in the body cam footage, you can see the gun. What Adam was going to do with the gun, I don't know, but the gun ended up on the ground. Adam was tall enough to be a grown man. In the dark, the police are chasing him. You see the gun, you gun your person down. You don't know it's Adam Toledo. You don't know he's 13 years old. The cop sobbed afterwards. He killed a kid. You say, well, he shouldn't have killed him. Yes. Unfortunately, that was the situation. In the dark, chasing someone. You see a gun. Let me put it to you in my words. I'm going home. I'm gunning you down. I feel bad about it because I killed a kid. I didn't know it was a kid. I know I was killing someone with a gun. And what I was called for as a shots fired. No time for questions. We'll get deeper into that maybe some other day. My only point, if I could touch it again, with this whole thing is that this is all a distraction. And the unfortunate, the people that aren't necessarily paying attention, and the stupid people are the ones that are running with this. That is the point of conversation. This is all a distraction. And there's going to be so many more. Because right now, what you don't know is that things like, there's a lot of money that has gone into Wall Street. Enough money. More money has gone into Wall Street in the last 5 months than they have in like the last 15 years. More money into Wall Street in the last 5 months than in the last like roughly 15 years. That is a setup for a really bad fall. Rich people are moving their money. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. And I genuinely believe that the middle class will be the one that suffers the most. So if you're used to just doing, going out and getting your stuff and doing your things and be like, I'm going to have a pretty Christmas this year. I'm going to have a nice Christmas display. Or we're going to have other family over for supper. If you're used to those type of things, I think you're going to lose that. The middle class is going to suffer the most. The rich will have their money. The poor or the dependent will have their money as well. And they will create more dependent. The Hunger Games is becoming far more reality than we would care for it to be. So while all of these bad things, all these strange to us things, all these things that are happening that are changing the country, the world in general, the loss of our freedoms, while all these things are happening, they're distracting us with hate and fear. Hate, racism, fear, COVID. Those things are actually interchangeable, quite frankly. Right? Because they keep us at odds with COVID. Those particular things are not only what sells, but what entertain. Those are the things that keep our minds busy while they run over us. While they're running over us. So, what someone like me needs to start doing is pulling out these little situations about just how important pulling out the things that will impact us the most. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it's our education, like the critical race theory, that needs to stop. As long as they keep us distracted, you don't know what's going on in your children's school, and you need to know. Because like Bill Maher said, if you're white right now, particularly, and this is what they're teaching in the schools, if you're white, you only have two choices. You are either racist or you are racist and you do not know it. That's your two choices. Indeed, that is what they are teaching the children in the schools. And they're turning your children against you. That is an important thing. But again, you're distracted by the Chauvin thing. You're distracted. They keep you distracted with COVID. Those are the two main things. Quite frankly, they distract you with the border despite its ugliness. Because they keep telling you, look at these kids, look at these kids, look at these kids. And that is indeed a bad situation. But while you're looking at these kids and how awful things are with these kids, they're just letting thousands upon thousands, almost daily, people into the country that aren't supposed to be here, that are burdening the country. So, distractions. Distractions are our biggest enemy right now. Yeah. The media is distracting us while the politicians, they're doing the bidding of the politicians. So, I'm going to leave it at that because this this situation can branch off, and if that's the case, if I was going to try to cover everything at once, I'd be here. I'd be on here forever. We need to start paying attention to what exactly is actually happening. And I'm serious, man. I'm not the only one that said it. Eric D. July said that. I saw Anomaly say it. The list is becoming endless. Stu Bergier, I saw him say it. You need to get out if you're a police officer. It's obvious these places don't want you. Baltimore made that decision a couple years back, where they weren't going to answer some of the calls in some of those areas because they're not wanted there. But Eric D. July put it best. He's like, the only fallback on that is that federal police, they'll make some sort of federal police situation. So I could always pack up and move. I may not want federal police here in Cleveland, but if that ended up being a situation, I would just go someplace where they weren't. They can have it. The crazy people running the asylum can have it. There's so much that we need to talk about. And with the distractions, it's hard to touch on those things. I'm going to see you soon. Ada Jet Noise, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Parler, Instagram. Thanks for joining me. We got a lot to ride out in these days, babe. A lot. See you soon. Thanks again. Big hug. Be good. Be still. Enjoy your life.